Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today we are covering a request by Carrie called 1 Hour Photo.
And thank you so much, Carrie. I haven't seen this one in a while, so I really appreciate it.
And I hadn't seen this one, so first impressions. But before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. So, you got the tea.
You right. We are drinking Republic of Tea's Thinking of You.
We thought it'd be appropriate for the movie.
And let's see if I can find the ingredients. Here it is. It's got organic peppermint, organic chamomile, organic orange peel, natural creamy French vanilla flavor, and organic wintergreen flavor. And we did also add a little bit of creamed peppermint honey.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to give it a little bit of sweetness.
Yes. An extra peppermint.
I guess I can put it over here with the ghosty.
Yes. And thank you for the Republic of Tea for allowing us to continue to do what we love, and for our tea sippers out there. Brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. So, the summary for 1 Hour Photo. I'm going to wing it today. So there is this, photo developer? What would you call it? Phototech? I don't know.
Yeah, Phototech.
At a Walmart type knockoff that this family has been going to for like 9 years.
Save Mart.
Yeah, Save Mart. And anyways, he goes a little crazy and finds that the husband has been... he's been kind of creepy for a long time because he has a lot of photos of them on his wall. But he finds out the husband has been...
the photo guy.
Yeah.
Husband.
And he finds out that the husband was cheating. And he goes a little nutso. And... yeah.
Yeah, he just goes off the deep end. But it's Robin Williams.
Yes, it's played by Robin Williams, who is a treasure, and
was, and always will be a treasure.
Yes. But yeah, entertainment. So, I hadn't seen this movie before, and I wasn't sure... like, the premise of the movie seemed interesting and creepy, but I'm like, how is Robin Williams going to be able to pull off? And he does a really good job. So, like, at least to me, it's like he plays the creepy character that is easy to be like, oh, he's just like a normal, friendly guy. But it's like, and you wouldn't really suspect him being weird until, like, but you know something's off about him.
He's like just a couple degrees off.
Yeah. And then whenever they start, like, digging in, then they're like, oh, something's really off with him. So I think Robin Williams did a really good job doing that balance.
Job. Yes.
Also, like, could feel that his character really was, like, emotionally distressed, especially when he had gotten fired. I mean, this is more realism. I was like, it took them a long time to figure that out. But no, it's like that's all he had. And so you really felt for, like, that loss. And I thought the movie focus was also interesting, how instead of it being 90% the family and then 10% like what he was, it was like almost like a little bit more skewed towards his side, even though he wasn't really a victim, you know? It's a family that was a victim. So, I don't know. It's a really interesting exploration.
So they heavily implied at the end of the movie that he had past trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
Heavily implied it.
Yeah. I mean, he said it out loud, and I was like, what? That didn't happen. Did it happen to him? Yeah.
And just he finding out that the guy in that family had cheated was the breaking point.
Yeah, it triggered him. Yeah.
He had already gotten fired. He found that out too, and then his image of everything just shattered.
Yeah.
And he snapped.
Yeah.
Though he didn't quite snap like some people would have thought he would have.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting twist too, because they did heavily imply like, oh man, he's going to do some damage.
And
but then he ended
inflicted some trauma on them for sure.
Yeah. But the fact that like he didn't actually take any pictures of them, he just took of it in the hotel room. That was
most
really
likely
interesting.
Before he did anything with them, he took photos of just random mundane things.
Yeah.
In his hotel room.
Yeah. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, what he did was wrong, but he isn't really like a violent or bad guy. I don't know. It's just like it really kind of like messes with your head. And I mean,
it's
that's
definitely
like
a psychological film for sure.
And like all of the photos he was keeping, it's not like he was necessarily. Yeah, it was more like it was almost like he was trying to replace like his own trauma, being like, this is what photos should be like. This is the perfect family. And then that's why it like extra rocked his boat when when he found out the father was cheating.
He liked to imagine that he was part of their family.
Yeah.
Even just an extended part.
Yeah.
He watched that family grow. He was there developing the photos when the lady was pregnant. All through the kid's life growing up, he was always the one developing the photos. So he watched this family grow. He talked with them, at least the mom, every time.
Yeah.
So he felt like he was part of the family. And the fact that he didn't have, it looked like anyone else really in his life, he kind of latched on to that. And with his prior trauma and everything just compounded. There was an event that was just
Breaking
the straw that broke the camel's back. And he flew off the handle a little bit. He did have some creepy moments, which were more, again, he was in effect fairly harmless, but it just came off as wrong.
Right.
And creepy. Seeing the kid, like watching the kid at soccer practice and interacting with him after, trying to give him a toy that he knew he wanted.
Yeah, where it's like from his perspective, it was innocent, but from a parent's perspective,
that's serious alarm bells.
Yeah.
And even the dad. So my husband did watch that scene where he was talking to the dad in the store, and Sai said, "You have a wonderful family, and if I may say, a beautiful house," which is kind of creepy. Yeah. Just a bit. Like, that was a step too far. You have a beautiful family is one thing. You have a beautiful house as well. Excuse you, sir. You're going a little into details and all that seem a little off.
Well, I mean, if they're in the photos,
okay, but you don't necessarily. Most normal people wouldn't mention it.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless that's like the majority of the photos you take is just of your house,
right? Yeah.
You just love your house so much you want to take photos of it everywhere. But most people don't, and it's just an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
And then he sees him interacting with his kid at the end of the aisle. And that just seems like he's already put the guy's guard up a little bit. And then to see that, his dad alarms were just going off. My husband was like, dad instincts right there. Saying, I thought I told you not to talk to strangers. And to the kid, he's not necessarily a stranger.
Right. It's like...
So it's just...
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much gray area with this movie.
Yeah.
And again, his character really did need some mental help. So we urge our tea-sippers out there that if you are struggling with any kind of trauma, or even if you're not, it's helpful to talk to someone.
Yeah.
This is not sponsored. We just really believe in mental health.
For sure.
Please talk to someone. But it was a really, really well done movie.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
I forgot if I said my rating.
Don't know. I don't think you did.
Yeah, you talked over me. It's my
Sorry,
turn,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I give it a 7.5 as well.
Yeah.
I would have said it first, but but no, like this is, I feel like I don't really have any complaints about this movie. Just like the way that they do everything, like the acting, how much they show of him is just like, and then the little like peek at the end of like what he potentially went through. I kind of wish they would have deep dived into that, but
I'm glad they didn't.
it's like, you know,
I'm really glad they didn't.
you know, it's just kind of like, whoa, like almost like a twist
Like,
ending.
there's a
that-
reason he's
Yeah.
so obsessed with photos.
Yeah. But it's like one of the things where I like how sympathetic he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to be on his side, but you're like, oh,
But
man,
he's
dude,
done
you need some
some
help.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he's not a bad guy. He's just...
Very misled and, well,
and he's
not...
had some trauma, and
Yeah.
he's had some bad luck. And he did do some wrong things.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not good to order extra or print off extra batches of photos of people that you're not related to or don't really know and just keep them.
Yeah. I
That's
did really like, since we're in a mostly digital age now, I like this movie because it's like a little time capsule
Yeah.
of what, you know, printing photos used to be. It's like, yeah, you can still technically print photos, but it's not as fun.
It's not
and
the
you're
same.
not really, yeah, it's mostly like a kiosk now that you
Yeah.
go to, and then you'll
Or
like,
on your phone, an app on your phone.
right. So it's not quite the same.
Well, also, back in the day, you didn't even know how the pictures were going to come out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we see them in real time, and we can just go through and delete the ones that are crap. But there are times back in the day where you had no idea. The whole camera could just be a throwaway, essentially, because you might have gotten maybe one good picture out of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So you never knew what you were going to get. And that was kind of exciting, honestly. Could
Yeah.
be disappointing too, but
Yeah. But no, it's like I'm glad that this movie exists,
Yes.
and I hadn't really heard of it before. I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. I mean, I can understand it's kind of an uncomfortable movie.
it is.
Like the topic that's going is like, man, that's some creepy, fucked up shit. But at the same time, it's like I like the time capsule perspective, but also like the character exploration, the sympatheticness of it, and it's like they don't even give you a lot of time to feel. I mean, towards the end, whenever the police are like talking to the wife, that's kind of more where it sets in on like, oh, that's. I mean, a little bit. Honestly, whenever he started going to the soccer games, that's when I was starting to get nervous for the family.
I'm sitting here like, you're crossing a line here, dude.
Yeah. So it's like they do a really good job dancing between the two perspectives, and really like just taking the audience for the ride. So yeah, I think this is a really good movie for sure.
Definitely.
Did you have any more comments for entertainment?
Not really. Again, though, just Robin Williams is top tier
Yeah.
and always will be. We miss him.
So for realism, this one's tough.
It is.
but I give it a 4. I don't know. It's just like some of the stuff I can think of that's not realistic is more like nitpicky.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the stuff I can totally see happening. Like, honestly, the biggest thing that is more nitpicky is how long it took them to realize that he was making more than ordered copies. And then they just like fired him. But it's like, you know, because they had mentioned that as like hundreds.
So it was hundreds over the span of like 11 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it took you that long to.
So they mentioned that in the movie too. Like, they gave an explanation as to why it took them so long. It was because they had a tech looking at it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So he said the numbers always evened out.
Right. Except
so
for
there was
when
no
he worked or
discrepancy.
whatever. Yeah.
No, there was no discrepancy in like the price.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So he, I think, was paying the difference.
Oh, gotcha.
But the numbers that were ordered from the people versus what was printed out
Yeah.
is the variance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that takes time to track. So they didn't know until a tech was really looking at it. And I'm wondering, I don't remember if they actually said the tech's name or anything, but I'm wondering if it's that same tech that he was arguing with a few days before.
Maybe.
And that tech was like, oh yeah? Well, I'm seeing some weirdness here. I don't know.
Like, maybe he would have just brushed it off, and then maybe with him
Might
being
have,
irritated,
yeah.
he's like, well, I got
Maybe
you.
they had a bunch of newbies or a bad batch or whatever and had to reprint. Because that happens now and then. Something happens and you have to reprint.
Right.
Just going off of what I remember from photo area where I worked previously.
You worked in a photo area?
Yeah, Target had a photo area.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't anymore, but yeah, they did. But yeah. Yeah, sometimes things happen and you have to reprint. Maybe the toner's off or whatever. You have to recalibrate something. It comes out dark. There's a system error, whatever. It happens on occasion. And on occasion, it could happen on a batch that had 100 or more photos, which would suck. But you never know. But over that span of time, that many, that was a lot. And that threw up some red flags.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, no, it's like...
And again, technology was a little different at the time, too.
Well, yeah.
It was a little harder to track than it would be today. I feel like.
I mean, back then, they still had computers and stuff, so it's not...
Yeah.
I don't feel like... I mean, like, yes, nowadays things are, like, locked down.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like we're... Back then, they really weren't that far off. It's like, I don't want to make it sound like they were in the, like, caveman days. Cause,
No,
they
no,
still...
yeah.
They
This
still had
wasn't like the
computers. They
60s or
had still
anything,
had
yeah.
tracking. It's just might have been maybe more manual than
I think
digital
so, yeah.
at that time. And so, yeah, it would be more difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah.
But and maybe they weren't like that concerned about it or didn't think it was that much of a concern, and that's why it wasn't until
loss or something. Yeah.
right.
But that's why I didn't count off that much for it.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like it is a pretty realistic movie. I feel like I don't know how common it is for people checking into hotels to ask for particular floors, because I could picture some people having preferences. like not wanting to be too high up and stuff like that.
I feel like it's probably more common than you think.
Like the other thing I could think of is like, especially if you and friends are like doing multiple
Yeah.
hotel rooms, you would want to try and be on their same floor.
Yeah.
And so it probably was one of those things where he didn't really think about it or ask any questions. I thought it was really smart how Sai got the correct room number, though. That was really smart.
When he pretended to be from room service.
Yeah. Yeah. But I bet, whenever they opened the door, they found out real quick, like, oh shit, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's what I got for it. There's not a whole lot to say because it's like
It's really not.
because
Like,
the
it's a-
progression I feel like is really good. Like it's subtle, but then like it just snowballs, and then you're like, oh no, and it's just oh man, it's just and then it's like the family. You can tell they get like weird vibes from the beginning, but they're not really sure how like where to place it.
And he's not really threatening or anything.
Right.
So it
It's
just
he's being
feels off.
Yeah, it just, and so they probably played it off as, oh,
Yeah.
he's just socially awkward, or,
Which happens a lot.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, he never said anything threatening or ominous or anything like that. It just seemed a couple degrees off.
yeah. And I mean, whenever the kid was like upset about him not having any friends and stuff, and then
So
I
sweet.
know, but the way that
Such a
she
sweet
rationalized
kid.
it, and he was like, well, he
Uh-huh.
probably has a girlfriend, he probably has lots of friends and family. Like, I feel like both of those were very
Realistic.
yeah, perspectives, because it's like, the kid is just like, oh, it's like, the kid's only seeing one piece, and then the adult is, not just for comforting for him, but is
But
also thinking like,
logically,
yeah, it's like he more than likely has a full life outside of work, because
Yeah.
that's what most
This is
people
just
do.
what we see here.
Right, yeah.
But kids are perceptive. So he was picking up on the loneliness and sadness that Sai was putting off. But it was so sweet. And then also the kid refusing the toy because he's like, I can't take this. Mom and dad wouldn't like it. It's not right. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you for the gesture, but I can't accept it. Really, he shouldn't have been talking to him
Yes.
because that was just weird and awkward that he stood there, like he sat there and watched his soccer practice and then asked if he wanted Sai to go talk to his coach and tell him to ease up. That's definitely way overstepping. That's weird.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to push the whole uncle thing, which he had
For
made in
sure.
his head, and the kid had no idea,
Yeah.
but still, it's still like,
Yeah.
it makes sense since you have that context. And that's why it's like, I extra like this movie that it shows Sai's perspective too, because you're understanding his justification, but you
Yes.
still know it's weird.
Yes. And I do appreciate that this movie doesn't go darker than it did. It goes fairly dark, but it could have gone even darker.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they didn't. And there are just so many layers to this movie. And y'all are going to be surprised. But I'm actually going to give it a 6.
Okay.
I can't find much that is an absolute no. The main issue I have is when he took the knife from the display case.
Yeah, how they didn't really seem to, catch it or whatever.
He had keys.
Yeah.
One, why does he have keys to display cases that are nothing to do with the photo area?
True.
And even if they're that trusting with their employees, that like every employee has keys.
It's like it's his last day, so he would have been
Yeah.
required to turn it in.
He should have had to turn it in sooner.
Yeah. Because I know he was technically left early, but yeah, it's like normally prior to They'll take your...
Well, also, they seem to just have a keypad to get into the photo area. He didn't need keys.
That's very true.
Also, if you're gonna fire someone like that, why would you have them finish out the week?
Especially for that type of discrepancy.
If you're suspecting something really weird going on and all, and that also, he's going to be upset. You know he's going to be upset about being fired. So why would you risk a whole week of him still working there, where he could potentially mess with anything? I know he threatened, like, if you mess up any of the photos. But he could mess with so much other stuff in the store, especially with keys.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
most places, I feel like, would get their ducks in a row and have other people ready to cover his shifts for the remainder of the week and say, you're fired, I need your keys, I need your name badge, that kind of stuff, and you need to leave.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough because it depends. Because it's like I have been in circumstances where a coworker has been fired and they were told to finish out the remainder of the week. Now, did they show up? No.
Because why would you?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I know, and it's like it's not like they can't. It's not like they can threaten to not give you your paycheck because they have to pay you for what you work
legally.
Yeah. So, yeah, I always thought that was kind of a stupid concept. Just, like, if you're going to lay someone off, like, just, yeah.
Well, why risk the extra headache, if nothing else?
Right.
The extra worry, the extra headache, and potential other issues.
Yeah.
So those were the main things that I had. So... I didn't count off for the mom not saying anything, not confronting the guy or anything. Sai has no idea what she's doing. One, she's got to process it, because that's a big bomb to drop on someone.
Oh yeah.
And her kid knows too, because her kid was looking through the photos first and found that and alerted the mom. That's messed up, dude. You put it in the kids' photo batch. I know that was the only one at the time, but that's messed up, dude. That's messed up. But she's got to process it. She's probably trying to help the kid process it too, and he's probably going to be upset and asking a bunch of questions, worried about whether or not his parents are going to have a divorce, and she's got to deal with that whole situation. And he doesn't know if she's moving in the shadows and trying to get things set up for a divorce.
Right.
Like, quietly.
Right.
Off to the side.
Yeah.
It seems like she seemed like a stay-at-home mom while the dad worked.
Yeah.
So she's got to set things up so that she and her son are taken care of. She's got to think about custody issues. She's got to think about living situations, kids' school, all of that kind of stuff. That takes a lot of planning and discussion and research. You can't necessarily expect her to immediately... Some people do, but you can't expect everyone to just go into the house, bust open the door. I know you've been sleeping with someone else, that's not me. And confronting him right away. That's not always how it works.
No, and especially when there's a kid involved, you gotta be strategic. Mm-hmm. You gotta be careful with it.
He has no idea if she was planning on leaving him, if she was just trying to do things quietly and not necessarily cause a huge scene. Right. Especially since a big scene could potentially traumatize the kid more. She's a good mom. She was trying to be a good mom. We don't know what she was planning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I didn't count off for all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But yeah, it's like if you haven't watched this movie, I'm not going to say it's an enjoyable movie.
It's an uncomfortable movie, but it's a really, really well done.
Yeah, it's really well done. I think it definitely is worth a watch. Mm-hmm. For sure. But thank you for joining us today, and let us know what you thought of the movie. If you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea, you can leave us a comment or join our Discord. And if you'd like to keep up to date with our content, you can find our link tree listed below.
And if you'd like to support us monetarily, we have our Teespring and PayPal, or we have our affiliate link with Republic of Tea available. It does not affect the price of the tea, it just allows us to continue to do what we love. And you can find all of the sites mentioned linked below. But until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye!
Bye.